The Jacksonville Jaguars and New England Patriots showed that you can just do things. You can just decide to be a good football team pretty much anytime you want. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to build a team for 7 years. You don't have to wait for luck to finally shine upon you. You can just decide to be a competent football team. And this should be an optimistic message for the Jets heading into 2026 is that if they so choose, Darren Muji, Aaron Glenn, Woody Johnson, the powers that be, the brain trust, if they decide that they want to be a competent team, they can just decide to do it. They can. They absolutely can. And there's no reason that you should make excuses for a double, triple, quadruple tank situation. If they want to be a good team, they could be a good team. Do they want to? We're going to find out. Now, what does it mean to be a good team? Okay, well, let's be more specific. And I'll even lower the bar a bit because the Jaguars won 13 games with their new coach. The Patriots are going to be in an AFC championship against Jarrett Stidham. And obviously, the difference being that they inherited Drake May, Trevor Lawrence, and then particularly in Jacksonville, a roster that was a little bit ahead of what the Jets have. But I'd say this, a successful season for the Jets next year in Glenn and Muji's second season, to me, would be number one, can you get your defense to average to above average? You know, when Saleh came in, their defense was actually worse. They gave up more points than the Jets did last year. And this was without the Wojak Horseman tank era at the end down the stretch. So when that defense was giving it its A game, it was actually worse that first year. And in the second season, that Jets defense was top 10 and then into top 5 in 2023. So you can turn a unit from bottom 5 to top 5 in an offseason. You can, it's possible, but let's not even ask for that. Let's say, can you get your defense from bottom 3 to average to above average? Okay, number one. Number two is tough because do the Jets realistically have access to a quarterback that is as good as year 5 Trevor Lawrence or year 2 Drake May? Probably not. Now, maybe Ty Simpson or Garrett Nussmeier or Chambliss or some hidden gems, maybe, but with the information I have right now, I'm going to say the Jets probably don't have a path to immediately roster a quarterback who is a top third of the league quarterback. Because even if they take a rookie who ends up being good, he's probably not going to be that guy in year one. Okay, so let's frame it this way. Can you, A, your defense is average to above average, B, your special teams remains excellent, C, on offense, you create an offensive environment that is conducive to a young quarterback success. That is conducive to a young quarterback success. It will be obvious to anybody watching, hey, I know Marcus Mariota is out there doing his best, and it's not great. But man, the offensive line looks really good. And you don't need a chart. You don't need a chart. It's just blocking. Guy, block guy. Man, run with ball in open space. Man who throw ball, have a lot of time. That's how you got to measure the offensive line. No more charts. Charts are done. The Jets have had so many good chart players, and they haven't won a game in like 17 years. It's insane. So offensive line is good. The receivers, you have multiple of them that are good. You have a running game. You have an offensive staff that is maximizing what they have. That is situationally good. That will pull a rabbit out of their hat every once in a while, like the Bills just did when they had that little like hook and ladder. I was like, whoa, like Mike LaFleur used to do. Mike LaFleur punched above his weight. It was obvious. He got fired because he couldn't coach the worst quarterback in NFL history. So can you do that? Like those early solid years, Jets offenses, they were punching above their weight. I think there were some moments where Tanner Armstrong did that in the beginning of the season. They were scoring 20 points a game with Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields. That was more points per game than the Jets scored with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams the year before. So can you do that? Offense. Functional. Normal. Not breaking records for fewest passing yards or whatever. Obvious to any objective observer that, hey, man, if you put a quarterback in there, that quarterback is going to have a much better shot than Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, Zach Wilson. Defense, top 15. Just above average. That's it. Not great, above average. Special teams, maybe you regress a little bit because whatever that kid doesn't have 4 touchdowns again, but top third of the league special teams again. If you do all three of those things, you're probably not going to have a bad enough record to draft Arch Manning or whatever. But I mean, I don't know, man. We couldn't even finish the first tank. Are we gonna start rooting for a double tank already? And knowing good and well we're not gonna be able to finish it, knowing good and well we're gonna pick fourth in a 3 QB draft, whatever, we got to trade up. We'll figure it out. Do those three things. Those three things, you can absolutely do them. And furthermore, the Patriots and Jaguars, like, let's stick to defense because the offense is so tethered to quarterback. The Patriots and Jaguars had horrendous defenses in 2024. Remember, we played them both. Those were 2 of the 5 wins the Jets got in 2024. They beat the Patriots at home, Thursday Night Football, and they beat the Jaguars down the stretch when Devontae Adams had like 200 yards receiving. The Jaguars in 2024 were one of the worst pass defenses in modern football history. Then they just decided we're going to be a top 10 defense. We're just going to decide to. Well, you can't do that. You have this. It's not all the same. I don't know. I'm scared. Upset. They just skipped that step. They just decided, no, actually, we're just going to be top 10. Well, are we going to spend our like first all of our first round picks on defense and our first 4 picks on defense? No, you're not understanding. We're just going to decide to be good. The players we have, we're going to make them better. We're going to sign free agents who don't suck. We're going to sign players on other teams who not that we're just going to overpay for a name and they're going to come to the Jets and get a pension. We're going to identify players on other teams who actually are being underutilized, undervalued. They're going to come here and they're going to have the best seasons of their career. Players who are already here, who are first round picks, who had not quite popped, like Devin Lloyd, we're going to turn them into an all-pro. We're going to decide to have a good defense. Just as soon as we're hired off rip, we're going to have a good defense. Decided. Done. They can do that. The Jets can do that. Will they? I don't know. Will they decide that? I don't know. I hope they do because you can. Because the Patriots did and the Jaguars did. And the Patriots and Jaguars did not draft. The Jaguars did not have a rookie starting for them at all on defense. The Patriots had one. He was a 4th round safety. So all of the improvements in those 2 units came from free agency, which the Patriots dipped into heavily, but they got good value there. If the Jets signed K'Von Chaisson, we'd be like, oh, he's just mid. That's not going to fix it. If the Jets signed Spillane, oh, wow, Spillane, another small, no one would care. We wouldn't think that would be good enough. We wouldn't think that would be good enough if they signed Chaisson and Spillane. Because we'd be looking at it through the lens of not assuming that you're going to get a schematic and developmental advantage. They even made some unpopular decisions in New England, getting rid of Keon White, who was a high draft pick who showed some potential. Kyle Duggar, who'd been a good safety for them, gone. They just expedited like a whole 3-year defensive rebuild. They just decided to do it in a year. Now, could the Jets do that last year when they were trading away Quinnen and Sauce? No. Not a reasonable expectation. Can they do it this offseason? Yes. And I would argue if they are more than one offseason away from being a normal team, then they do not have the right people that were hired. Because you have the most amount of offseason resources in terms of cap space and draft capital combined, you can fix your defense and you can create an offense that is conducive to a young quarterback's success, considering you already have. Again, look at the teams in our division. Look at the Patriots. Are they better than the Jets because they have Will Campbell, who was being baptized in the name by Will Anderson, fighting for his life? Will Campbell did a great job recovering fumbles after giving up strip sacks. That was his best attribute in the playoffs. And if you think it's just because that's Will Anderson, Mafe from the Chargers hit him for 3 sacks. Are the Patriots better than the Jets? Are they playing this upcoming Sunday because they have Morgan Moses instead of Armand Membu? Well, the Jets had Morgan Moses, so they should have went to the. But when we had Morgan Moses, our offensive line wasn't good enough. No, it was. AVT played 15 games. You had Olu, Tippmann, Simpson, Morgan Moses. It's better than the Pats and the Bills O-line, that O-line we had. Are the Patriots and Bills were they playing as recently as this past weekend? Because they have Khalil Shakir and Booty instead of Garrett Wilson. No. So the Jets, honestly, like from a personnel standpoint, aren't that far away offensively. They need another pass catcher. And then from a personal perspective, it's good enough. Obviously, you want to do more, but from a personal perspective, they need a second receiver, like another veteran tight end. And if you swapped their personnel and gave it to Mike Vrabel and Drake May, they would be just as Jared Stidhaming as they are now. Well, no, but they hadn't. No, they didn't. They didn't. It's made up in our minds because it's viewed through the lens of they have a good quarterback and good coaching and good ownership and good organizational whatever. That's it. It's not because the Jags had ETN and we had Brees Hall. It's not. It's not. So offensively, they can accomplish that goal with literally one draft pick. If they pick Mekhi Lemon at whatever pick 16, offense is ready for a quarterback, personnel wise. Defensively, they need 4 or 5 more players at a minimum, but free agency. The Patriots went and got Milton Williams. They got Chason. They got Spillane. They got Harold Landry, who was with Mike Vrabel in Tennessee. Can Aaron Glenn find another former Detroit Lion who can come and rejoin him and play a good role for this team that he knows fits his system and what he want to do? Just do that. So you can just do things, man. You can have a plus average defense. You can have a good special teams again, an excellent special teams again, and an offense that is obviously ready to support a young quarterback. They can accomplish all those things next year. They have the resources to do it. And it is more than okay to expect the New York Jets to do that in 2026. Expecting anything less from them would be an insult to them. They do not have to double, triple tank, double doink 5 years of team building before you look like a normal team. It's not real. Those are just excuses built out of fear. So let's be a normal team. How about that? You can just do it. They can just decide. The only thing the Jets can decide is how to ruin our mental health. Well, the thing is, you got to keep the Jets in arm's length. That's what it comes down to. You got to keep the Jets at a healthy arm's length, whether it's like you're optimistic, you're positive, you're changing your profile to fire Aaron Glenn on social media, you're giving "Oh Captain, my captain" speeches about how you got to trust Aaron Glenn, and you're on the fan police for everybody who doesn't like Glenn. Does the fan police come with a pension, or is that like a volunteer dude? That's what I want to know. Is that a volunteer strictly, or does the fan police get paid? Once you find yourself there, you got to just put the Jets at arm's length and go get some fresh air if you're crashing out and at other fans. All right. That is my advice if the Jets make you mentally unwell. Which seems they do a pretty good job of that, though. We'll give them credit for that. What are your thoughts on Ruben Bain after the last night at pick number 2? Dude, Ruben Bain is an absolute beast. Ruben Bain would be my preference for pick 2. He has been for a few weeks. I don't imagine it changing. Now, if they don't believe that any of the top 3 receivers are going to be there at pick 16, and they just say, you know what, man, we're going to take a receiver. We're going to err on the side of offense when it's close because the Jets have not had an all-pro on offense. Since Brandon Marshall. So they've had an all-pro on defense in Quinnen, in Sauce, in Quincy, in CJ Mosley. Maybe I'm forgetting one more, in Jamal Adams. So they've had 5 different players make an all-pro on defense since their last all-pro on offense, and yet every fan is saying you have to take all 11 picks and pick them on defense or the world is going to end. Well, that's because we are Jet fans, so we can only fathom being a competent team because of our defense. It's like it's already built into us that our offense is going to be horrendous, so we have to build like the 85 Bears defense in order to win 8 games. When in reality, you can do both. And you can demand of your coaching staff what the Patriots and Jaguars just decided to do was they just decided they were going to have a good defense. And they did it. They can do that. It's America. Well, but the sun was in their eyes and there was a loud barking dog in the vent. They can decide to do it. We don't need to chase the QB, especially if the plan is to sit him for the season with next year's QB class. That would literally be wasting a premium pick, which we have a lot of. So take skill positions. They don't need to take a quarterback, of course. Now, from a fan perspective, I think even if they took one, like just having the possibility that a future starter is on the roster would be exciting. But obviously, the GM and the coach can't build their team like that. They just have to use their resources in the smartest way. And most likely, that's probably not taking a quarterback almost at all, unfortunately. But is what it is. We must not draft a QB in this year's draft. Build the team, draft a QB next year. Anything else is just not good football management. I would wager that they do come away with one at some point. Maybe not in round one, but I think a quarterback is likely going to be added if I were to guess. Yeah, Bane's a beast, man. I don't know. I think I don't know. I like all the top 3 edge rushers, but Bane will be my number 1 guy because the way he played the run last night, it's not just that, oh great, you're gonna take a run defender at number 2. Okay, obviously he got 6 pressures, he got a sack as well. But the last 2 games against Ole Miss and against Indiana, who run such a heavy RPO, quick time to throw offense, there's so few true pass sets, which is why Ruben Bain, if you track true pass sets, he is everybody bit as productive as David Bailey. But in the aggregate, he's not because of the opponents they face. That's why you have to pair nerd stats with just watching college football. Because David Bailey, they would line him, or Bain, they would line him up like 4-eye, even just some straight up 3 tech, and he would just hold his ground against the run like a nose tackle at times, and the chase and the pursuit, just ripping off of blocks, the power to disengage and be a good tackler in the run, which is a big reason why Will McDonald struggles against the run, is because he misses so many tackles. Obviously, Bain has those little alligator arms, which, yeah, like it would be better if his arms were 2.5 inches longer. It'd be better. No one's denying that, but I just don't see enough evidence of it hindering his ability to do his job. So I think the positional versatility, the immediate impact, and I think he's a little safe, and I'm okay with safe. I'm okay with just getting a really, really awesome football player that fills multiple things you need, which is a base end and a DPR on the interior, and a guy who's a complete football player. I think that Bailey has a more varied pass rush repertoire, like inarguably. Bain just has, like, him and Mesidor too. Like Mesidor, I would take Mesidor in the second round. I would take them both. I would take Bain at 2, and I would grab Mesidor at 44 if he was there too. I don't care that Mesidor is 24 years old. Good, he's ready to play right away. Good. He can play like a grown man right away. Fine. But yeah, Bain just has that violent. He's so violent. that two-hand just swipe and rip. Um, he's relentless. But the last two games against Ole Miss and Indiana, you see him just kind of not like surfing laterally, but just that little stutter, waiting on the RPO, and then boom, speed to power. So violent. Whereas, of course, if he was on Indiana and they were playing Miami, where it's like actually like more true pass sets, he'd be able to just get off the line and go get the QB, and he would have had way more sacks. But still, um, getting 12 pressures in 2 games where the offense was running RPO and draw game is insane with Bane. Bane's a beast. Never been so tuned out on the Jets. Well, yeah, I mean, down the stretch there, once it was full tank season, it's what do you yeah, I hear you, man. Yeah, there was that back half of the season, probably after the Falcons win, once they went to Cook down to the Buffalo game where I was like, yeah, I pretty much only did post game streams for like 6 weeks because what am I gonna let's break down let's game preview the Bills versus Patriots. Like nobody cares. Nobody cares. So yeah, definitely a little bit of just biding out the tank until the off season starts for sure. And here we are again. Yeah, Bane's a beast. Robert Saleh employed as an NFL head coach by the Tennessee Titans, which okay, we will see how that goes. I am apparently remembering Robert Saleh's tenure as Jets head coach much differently than the Jets beat reporters, who seemed to think that he was a complete victim and everything that happened here was 100% out of his control. I don't quite share that sentiment, but I won't be actively rooting against him. It's I'm kind of indifferent to Saleh. Nice guy, not the worst coach ever, but no spilled milk over him not being the coach anymore, even though he's probably still a little bit better than Glenn. Abbott says, "Are you okay with Simpson at 16 if we get a legit wide receiver 2, Alec Pierce, or draft a wide receiver at 33 and bring in a vet quarterback?" I mean, if they take Simpson at 16, it's okay. I don't. I mean, I don't know what to say about Simpson, man. I'm just not all the reservations about Dante Moore, but even more so. Like small, plays small. I think he'll measure in officially like smaller than he's listed. I don't think he's 6'2". Um, was very, very bad under pressure down the stretch. Started bailing from clean pockets, started having these yip throws sail on him. And I don't think you could take a guy based on 8 awesome games and then he had some bad circumstances, right? You know, bad run game, a lot of drops, all that stuff. Maybe if he went to played it at Indiana and stayed healthy the whole year, maybe we'd feel differently, but that's just too much of a hypothetical. So Simpson at 2 to me is an absolute no, personally. Now 16, it's interesting because the trade-off is a lot different. If the top 3 edge rushers and the top 3 receivers are not there at 16 and they decide they want to take whatever chance Ty Simpson could be an average starter at quarterback, if they want to take that chance over a corner, over Peter Woods, over Kendrick Falk, over Denzel Boston, okay, All right. Would I do it if I was in the GM chair? Probably not, but I'm not gonna jump out a window if they do. I'll rather draft a could be Micah Parsons Reese than a could be Jared versus Bain. Well, I think that's why Reese will probably go higher, right? I think people will agree with you. Now, Micah Parsons is just one of those players where I think you can't really comp. I just think the comps to him, it should be banned. It's like I don't know, like Randy Moss or something. There's just certain guys. There's no comp. But yeah, Reese is nasty. There was I been watching more Reese. There was a play. I don't remember the opponent, but that's the thing about not being as much of a diehard college fan. I don't know if that offensive lineman just sucked or whatever. Who knows? But there was a play where Reese was standing up across the left tackle, and he just did one of those effortless little like Von Miller ghost moves, and the tackle didn't even touch him. And then he just closed in and stuck out that long ass arm and that baseball mitt of a hand and just ripped the quarterback down to the ground. And I was like, oh my God. Like Reese is nasty. Reese is so nasty. And he was very productive with the chances he got an edge. My trepidation with Reese is like, what does a coaching staff want to do with him? Because to me, you can't get cute. There's no hybrids. There's no hybrids again. We're not buying an SUV. There's no hybrids. There's hybrids in the secondary. I don't want a hybrid in my front seven. I want a guy who's doing one thing. And with Reese, it should be edge. He's strong enough. I don't care what he weighs. He's strong enough to do it. He's 20 years old. If Reese is Reese is fine to me if they take Reese. I like Bain and I prefer Bain and Bailey because not because of anything anti-Reese. I think Ruben Bain and David Bailey are players who would go high in a lot of drafts. I think the top of this edge class is better than it was last year. I think Bain is as impressive as Abdul Carter. Completely different skill sets. I think Ruben Bain is a guy who could be a top 10, should be a top 10 pick in any draft class. Now, with this draft class, it gets after like pick 12, it's like, ugh, you know, I feel like pick 12, it feels like they're just second round picks. There's such a drop off, which is why I'm glad that we have pick 16 and the Colts sucked and we didn't have like pick 28 or whatever. Would you say Jet fans are kings of worrying about things that don't matter? I think people do that in general. It's called anxiety, right? Or worrying about things you don't have any control over. So, yeah, a lot of people do that, not just Jet fans. Um, our fans believe we need to hit on every single pick to be good. Good teams figure it out either way. Well, we definitely, and I love this is my favorite thing to do is like chop it up about the draft because anybody's opinion could be correct. That's why being an armchair GM is fun. Because think about other like highly paid jobs. Like, I don't know, a surgeon. If one of us just randomly stepped into and we just did a heart surgery with the information we have now, 100% chance of death. That person is not making it. If one of us just tried to fly a plane, it would crash. If one of us just went up and tried to fix a power line, you know, maybe you have some electrical knowledge you could survive, but you're probably gonna get electrocuted, right? If one of us tried to be an NFL coach from training camp to install the whole system and schematic approach, and everyone had to listen to us, that team would probably go 0-17. But if one of us at random just got to make the 11 draft picks for the Jets, it could be fine. It could be fine. You could have a better draft than Howie Roseman just by going on PFF and picking the player that they had rated the highest or whatever, or just player you liked, just random, right? That's why it's so fun. Right? You could watch a 5-minute highlight and go back and say, I told you so. And you could be more right than the team who had all these scouts who met with the guy and did in-person workouts and all that. And you could just watch a 5-second highlight and go, he sucks. And you could be correct. What else? There's not many other things like that, right? Not many other things like that. But yeah, I like chopping up a draft, but we get way too attached. Like you'll see people say, like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna take another if this team takes an edge in round one, I swear to God, or if we can't take a receiver in round one. No team has ever done like." And if you look back at the Jets' recent struggles, the variance between taking Olu or Bowers or Membu or Warren or Jermaine Johnson or who is that edge from the Chiefs that people like Karlaftis or Brees Hall versus whatever safety we wanted then, or Joe Tippmann versus the people's favorite John Michael Schmitz, who kind of sucks, I think. Or Garrett or Drake London or Sauce or Kayvon Thibodeau or whatever. Like, yeah, you'd rather have JSN than Will McDonald. That one sticks out to me. But post the Zach Wilson pick, like the Jets aren't bad because of their first round selections. Obviously, ABT and Jermaine had devastating injuries, and I don't believe in trading up. I really don't believe in trading up for position players that are non-quarterbacks in general. So you probably shouldn't trade up for ABT, but yeah, man, that's not why the Jets are terrible. Like you can go back and flip each pick to the guy. Maybe you prefer, I wanted Tedero McMillan instead of Membu. Okay, they're both awesome, cool. The Jets still would have sucked last year. I wanted Kayvon Thibodeau instead of Sauce because he needed an edge rusher. I wanted the safety instead of Brees. Like that, for the most part, picking in the top 50 the Jets are not doing that at a level that is way below league average recently. It's everything else. It's quarterback, it's coaching, it's free agency, and it's day 3 of the draft. But of course, we act like it's life or death with this one pick, with pick 2. Like, yeah, Ruben Bain's going to be awesome. David Bailey is going to be awesome. Arvo Reese is going to be awesome. They want to take a receiver. It might be a little controversial, but Carnell Tate will be great. Yeah, unless it's quarterback or unless you're talking about a Myles Garrett, Jamar Chase level prospect, for the most part, that hasn't really been the difference. Yeah, Reese is I think Reese will, I don't know. I think the Jets, I think Aaron Glenn is going to appreciate a lot of things about Bain too, because look, you don't know where their where their mindset is at, or what they think about their job security. But I think Bain is going to come in and look the part right away and be highly impactful right away and just have an obvious role in such an easy path to playing time, where Reese, Bailey too, like Bailey's a better pass rusher right now, where like Bain and Bailey would probably have better rookie seasons than Reese. Now, as a fan, of a team that's not going to do anything much next year anyway, we don't really care. They might care though, right? They might care about that. Getting that immediate return on investment if your seat is a little bit warm. Are we going to get a QB next year if we're not bad enough to have a top pick? That is what is unfortunate about coming away one pick short. Now let me say this. Hold on. Let me qualify it with a million things. If the Jets had the number one pick, I would want them to take Fernando Mendoza. If the Raiders were dumb enough to put the pick up for trade, I want the Jets to offer a trade to come up and take Fernando Mendoza, given it wouldn't cost them a million picks. But like, where are the 3rd and 8 getting through my 3 reads under pressure over the middle throws from Mendoza? I know he can do it. He's done it from time to time, but like, I guess if all of Mendoza's NFL teammates catch 100% of contested balls by twisting and contorting their body and catching their ball by pinning it between their cleat and their ass cheek and getting 1 foot down. Yeah, he'll probably be Tom Brady. But there's a chance that if all those you can't just do an RPO hitch route to Elijah Surratt, who's wide open every time, or just throw a back shoulder ball to Becker, who catches it with his neck every time, never drop a contested catch ever, or hit a slant to a Cooper who runs for 20. Like, if you can't do that, he might look like Ryan Tannehill. Then I'm just saying, like, I'd still take him because I think he could be a Goff, the Trevor Lawrence of Jared Goff kind of quarterback. So I'd still take him, but I don't know. So you see tweets of like, this is the most slam dunk prospect since like Joe Burrow or Andrew Luck, and it's like, I don't agree with that. Don't agree with that. But yeah, that is obviously the bummer about coming up a pick short on the tank, is that now you're likely putting yourself in a situation where you're either going to have to suck really horrifically next year to be picking top 3 again, or you're going to have to trade up, right? Or maybe the teams that are all picking quarterbacks don't want to trade out, like in 2023 when it was Drake May, Caleb Williams, and Jaden Daniels. And those teams weren't coming out of those spots. And the quarterbacks that were left over, Penix, McCarthy. I know Bo Nix has been good with Sean Payton, but there was a drop off. So yeah, there's there is an element of chance there that unfortunately has not gone the Jets' way. But what are you supposed to do? Are they supposed to Brady Cook tank again? Like, is that the answer? Maybe it'd work. It probably would. If they play Brady Cook week 1, they'll have a top 3 pick. Do we want that? I don't know. Are we throwing something on the grill when Michael Clemens has been cut? Well, I don't think he'll have to be cut. If my memory serves correctly, I think he might be a free agent, or maybe he's a restricted free agent where they have to like not pick up a thing. But yeah, I don't think he'll be on the team. Titans are giving Robert Saleh a 5-year contract. So Jets at Titans is going to be the season opener. We know that. No doubt about it. Connor Rogers is in love with David Bailey. There's lots to like about David Bailey. David Bailey has done things where players who have who are as productive as he is rushing the passer in college are very, very seldom bad in the NFL. Right. So there is definitely a good proof of concept with David Bailey that I think would make a team comfortable drafting him in the top 10 of the draft. Of the ones they interviewed, I would like Jim Leonard for DC. If Saleh gets McDaniel as his OC, then yeah, that they might be cooking with something there if Cam Ward is good. I don't know. Is Cam Ward good? I didn't watch any Titans games this year. If Cam Ward can actually play, and he gets McDaniel, yeah, they could make some noise. Yeah, Saleh just beat Indy twice. Would you be all right with trading Jermaine for a third and taking Mesidor along with Bain? Yes. I personally, once they started doing all the trades, I wish they took the extra day two picks for Brees and for Jermaine Johnson. To be honest, um, because also Brees and Jermaine are going to be on the hook for, probably 25 to 30 million combined next year as well. Not that cap is the end all be all, but it is a factor. So once you were doing that, I probably would have ripped it off and cashed in the day two picks for them as well. I don't think that Brees Hall or Jermaine Johnson are a player that cannot be replaced with a day two pick. And unfortunately, with Jermaine, that's because he tore his Achilles. And also, he gets a say in if he wants to play for the Jets. So Jermaine, last year of his deal, Brees is a free agent. Like, are they going to both voluntarily resign with the Jets? Whereas a draft pick has to be here. So you may not even get or Jermaine and Brees. One of them could eventually walk from the Jets in free agency. That's why when they both clearly were not down with being on the Jets, obviously we have eyes, we can read body language, and yeah, I would have cashed in the picks for them at the deadline. And then you probably lose to the Browns without without Brees. Maybe you have a higher pick. Bain better as a 4-3 edge or a 3-4 defensive tackle? That is the question. Is the question. If he's an odd front defensive, defensive end, so basically whatever, like a 5 tech and an odd front, I don't think you spend the number 2 pick on that, to be honest. So if that's how they see him and they're running a 3-4 and they're like, "You know what? We're gonna go with Reese or Bailey," I would be like, "Okay, that's fine." Is there a Bane all-pro comp? Um, it kind of reminds me of Elvis Dumervil, who was on the Ravens for a long time with like multiple 17 sack seasons. Maybe even Robert Mathis, if you want to get weird, who is that power counterpart to Dwight Freeney's speed. Although Mathis is probably still a little bit more athletic than Payne. I don't know. This is what I don't know. Some stuff with Tyler Warren last year, and he wasn't my preference. I preferred Membu or McMillan to Warren, but it's like he doesn't have an elite athletic trait. What's he physically athletically great at? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, he's really good at football. So Bane's really good at football. There you go. My red line is you must leave round one with an edge and receiver. Definitely those first two of those first four picks. I think if two of them are not an edge and receiver, I would be disappointed for sure. All these non-jet specific mock draft outlets love a corner at 16. I'm telling you, prepare your soul, prepare your mind, your body, and your soul for the Jets to take a corner in the first or second round. Oh, wow. ESPN at 11 prospects of first round grades. Yep, that's how it feels, man. After pick 12, it's like don't love it. But within the top 12, like Downs, Bailey, uh Styles, Bain, Reese, Lemon, Tate, Mawanoa. Yeah. Well, those are top 10, 15 kind of picks. But yeah, like the picks, once you get to like pick 20, I'm like, eh. You unleash Reese and he could get 16 sacks. Yeah, I think that's the reason why he's going to go top 5. Yeah, I don't think he's getting past Salah at 4 if the Jets don't take him. I think Salah would take Arvell Reese for sure. Brian Branch was on the board with Tippmann there. Is Brian Branch genuine question? Like, is Brian Branch having him over Tippmann? Is that really changing the state of the Jets? Though is kind of my point, right? Maybe he's better. I don't know. Is he like an all-pro safety at this point? Maybe he is. But it's again, you could go toggle. You could take. Well, a lot of us wanted Kayvon instead of Sauce, or Drake London instead of Garrett, or Karlaftis instead of Jermaine, or Jalen Petrie instead of Brees. Who would be better? I'd rather have Petrie than Brees, but or Warren instead of Membu. Okay, like, but all you could flip all those things like a a panel in your basement. You can go do 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 do, and the Jets are in the same spot because coaching, quarterback, free agency, day 3 of the draft. Anyone can pick good players early. That's why Darren Muji is going to be a great GM in about a year from now. He'll be a great GM. You know why? He's going to pick probably 3 awesome players out of these 4 top 50 picks. Anyone, we could do that, guys. We can cook up a mock draft. We could do it right now. We could take Arvell Reese and Makai Lemon. and then CJ Allen at pick 33. We could do it. It's not hard. What's hard is Puka Nakua in round 5. And he's kind of an outlier, but even to a lesser extent, like just the Titans being able to take those two receivers who were in rounds, whatever, 4 and 5, who were one made an all pro as a special teamer and one had like 500, 600 yards. Just normal draft, just getting return on investment of players who play roles for you consistently on day 3. Um, and free agents that work. Like the Patriots got signed free agents, they hit. That's why their defense got good. So yeah, Darren Muji is going to be a GOAT GM in about, in about 9 months, but we'll see if he can maintain it. And obviously they have to get the coaching and quarterback in place for it to matter. How long of a leash does Glenn have? I have no idea. But um I don't know. I mean, probably the whole year because I think the firing of Robert Saleh was very just random. Like I don't think that Woody said, "Okay, you got to be if you're 2 and 3 in the first 5 games, you're getting fired." I don't think Woody had that in his mind at the beginning of the year. He just made a rash decision, and that was with a team that had expectations to be a playoff team. Whereas this year, if the Jets suck again, they'll probably just ride it out and they'll look for a new coach at the end of the year. Like I don't think Glenn will be fired in season. What would it because in 2024 they were trying to save the season by firing their coach. Yeah, that's not a good plan, but that was the mindset of like, okay, we could if we change something, we could salvage it and make the playoffs. Next year, if they're starting off, 2-7, there's nothing to salvage. So yeah. But call up the Titans and see if they will take Jamie and Sherwood. That would be one of my first calls for sure. Wide receiver isn't controversial. It depends on who you ask. Some Jet fans have an aversion to seeing the light of offense. Our defense is so bad. Well, I will refer you to the Mike Vrabel, Liam Cohen rule, where you can just decide to have a good defense. So, yeah, just get an awesome player. They're gonna get an awesome player. Can they get an awesome player in rounds 4 and 5? That is going to be the litmus test for if this regime is going to be different than the last one. Because Darren Muji is we don't know if he's any different than Joe Douglas yet. We have no idea. Joe Douglas could hit on a first round pick. Joe Douglas could answer the phone and say, "Yeah, sure, I'll take 2 first round picks for a defensive back." Joe Douglas could find a Briggs in the stack every now and then. Um, we'll know Darren Muji is different than Joe Douglas when he puts together a comprehensively good free agent class or starts getting normal return on investment in the middle rounds. Belichick to Bills. Is that really a thing that's being discussed? So yeah, the Bills did them firing McDermott, okay, because look, maybe they reached their ceiling with him, and they're obviously not going to get a better quarterback than Allen. Like they're not going to get Mahomes, so whatever. But they promote the GM, like, and remember when McDermott first got there, that first draft was kind of his draft, and then he hired Bean. And the McDermott draft, if memory serves me correctly, was pretty freaking good. Which draft was that? Yeah, so the McDermott draft was 2017, in which he took Trey White, Zay Jones, Dion Dawkins, and Matt Milano. So Trey White was an all-pro corner before getting injured. Dion Dawkins, 10-year starter at left tackle. Matt Milano, all-pro linebacker, drafted in the 5th round. And they didn't even have there was like a first round, second rounder, 5th rounder. No third round fifth, no third round pick, no 4th round pick in that class. And they had like Brandon Cooks, the wide receiver 1, and no edge rush. I don't know. I think that the Dolphins and the Bills are probably going to have downgraded at coach at the end of the day, and I enjoy that. Good. Yeah, we could be a normal team, you know? And that's a perfectly good way to say it because we all know what that means. I think it becomes frustrating when people give comparisons to other teams. Like, look at what Ben Johnson did in year 1. It's like, okay, would I fire Aaron Glenn to hire Ben Johnson right now? Of course, nobody wouldn't. Even Aaron Glenn, if he really loves the Jets, would fire himself and replace himself with Ben Johnson and ask to be his defensive coordinator. No one's denying that. But to just say Bears win more games than Jets, angry because it's like caveman logic. Now, obviously, they have Caleb Williams, and it's way better. It was a way better roster heading into it. But the point being is, there's the other side that thinks like, whoa, I mean, you weren't going to get it. We weren't going to get an interception. Everyone knew that. Everyone knew that you weren't going to get a single interception. What are you, crazy? We were never going to get an interception. You're unrealistic. We weren't going to have a 400-yard receiver. Everyone knew this. Heading into the year, everyone knew we were going to win 3 games, strip the team for parts at the deadline, do a Wojak Horseman, Brady Cook tank, not get a single interception, have the worst December ever, have the second worst point differential in team history, and have the second overall pick in a 1 quarterback class. And the second quarterback was going to announce LeBron James style that he was going back to school. Everyone knew this. No, we didn't, man. We didn't. It's funny because if you were to I don't know. I don't even like respond more like this. I think people will just leave. People like go with what they want to listen to. I try not to do WFAN screaming like fire Glenn. Like it's not a topic anymore. Glenn wasn't fired. It's over. Guys, we got to pack it up. He wasn't fired. It is what it is. We're not hiring Joe Brady or whatever the hell. It's over. But like like you're being negative about the Jets. It's like, dude. Unfortunately, I watched the games. It's kind of amazing. If you were to go back, like if we were to go back at the beginning of the year and some whatever person on ESPN, or anyone, any human, but let's say somebody on ESPN, because we get a lot of traction, predicted gave their prediction on the Jets season, and they predicted exactly how it went. They said the Jets are going to win 3 games. They're going to do and every single horrifying stat that we know, whatever. Um, and also said it's going to be capstoned with you coming up 1 pick short on the tank for the quarterback. That's consensus number 1. Our reaction would have been like, no, you're rage baiting. This is like this is LOL Jets. This is Jets for clicks. I mean, come on, they're going to get 1 pick. Let's be real. They're going to get 1 pick. Even if they suck, they're going to have a 400-yard receiver. Even if Garrett gets hurt, someone's going to get 400 yards, man. Come on. Come on. They're going to have a better point differential than like the 2021 Jets or the Adam Gase Jets. Come on. Come on. Don't be so doomy. It's ridiculous. And then it happens, and then it's like you're supposed to take that Men in Black stick and be like, shh, it was all part of the plan. Woody Johnson is playing 4D chess. Bad fan, bad fan, bad fan, detected, bad fan, detected. Fan license removed. We can now search your car. That shit is just as exhausting as the WFAN mouth breathing, screaming to fire Aaron Glenn for 17 months after they decided not to do it. It's pretty wild though how the season, how this. I wish I was better than this, but I kind of hope Mendoza sucks now. Like I hope Mendoza sucks and Dante Moore sucks. I hope Dante Moore ends up being like Drew Aller and is a day 3 pick next year, and I hope Mendoza is a bust. Sorry, I wish I was better, but I'm not. Robert Saleh, I can't decide yet if I'm going to be able to root for him or not. I will root for Saleh to be good, but not too good. Like, you know. Let's stop hoping for the draft. Even when we had the first pick in 97, Peyton and Archie dodged the Jets, maybe move the team to change the luck. Yeah, we'll see. I know that's going to be the whole discussion with Arch Manning next year, but you got to draft the guy eventually, right? How many? I mean, even the Rams got their guy because they drafted a good quarterback who they were able to swap for, right? Maybe. What has Art shown that everyone is so high on him? Well, look, I mean, am I going to tell you that if Arch Manning's name was like Bryce Ellis, he'd be talked about as highly? Probably not. You know? But he was pretty good. Arch was very impressive down the back half. For sure. Yeah, Mendoza's like he had that nice run, but he was dude, he got lucky that Miami had a punt blocked and missed a field goal. And that the defense dropped a pick 6 on that stop route. A little comeback route, the guy could have had a pick 6. Obviously Mendoza is very good, but in that game I and Carson anybody who is putting a Carson Beck mock draft, I am going to report to the FBI. It'll be out of my hands at that point, whatever they do, but I will report it to the proper authorities if anyone sends me a mock draft with Carson Beck being drafted on it as any more than a seventh round joke. Carson Beck should be drafted. Maybe if there's a third world war, he could be drafted by the selective service. That would be fine, which I think I just turned too old for now. I think I just became too old for that. I was on that. You have to do it to get loans for college. Did you know that? If you ever took out a college loan, if you're a man, you have to sign up for the selective service. But I think I just aged out. But Carson Beck has not. So Carson Beck, he can go um, if there was a World War III. But in terms of being drafted to an NFL team that I root for, I would prefer not. I did hit Miami plus 13. I did cash that one in. I won my $18 or whatever. Because dude, Miami can hang in the trenches. The Indiana had no pass rush. When Beck dropped back to pass, those tackles cleaned up. So in Miami was great in the trenches, which is why I thought Miami getting 10 points against Ohio State was insane. My FanDuel thanks you for that. Like the whole way they were just the books were underestimating the team with the best offensive and defensive line combination in the country. And Carson Beck, even though he's a complete squid, he is very experienced. So that, he's not the worst college quarterback, but like, man, that was just such a flattening way to end the game, just to chuck up a prayer ball into cover two that it was underthrown too. It wasn't even like the safety came over and cut it off. He threw it right to the corner who was underneath. Insane. McVay was unknown. Kyle Shanahan blew 28-3 with his passing plays. Who is the next unknown guy the Jets should hire? Well, I don't know if he's unknown because I saw his name pop up a couple times. Grant Udusky or whatever. Grant Udinsky, who is born in 96. Oh my gosh. I am now older than coaches. I'm washed. Grant Udinsky is okay, but what does he do? I know he's a coach for the Jaguars. What is his role? Oh, he's the offensive coordinator. But obviously Cohen calls the plays, so he's like the offensive coordinator. Grant Udinsky, Baylor graduate, and he was on the staff of Joe Brady in Carolina, Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, and now Liam Cohen in 2025. You could do worse than that. So he was assistant head coach, quarterbacks coach, assistant offensive coordinator, and now offensive coordinator. So yeah, if the Jets are switching coaches next year, look, the reality is look at what Tennessee hired Robert Saleh. Why? Because dude, that's the best they could do. You know what I mean? Like that's what the Jets look at who Tennessee interviewed. They're finalists for the job because they didn't want a rookie. Their finalists for the job were Matt Nagy and Robert Saleh. That's what the Jets are going to be looking at next year if they fire Glenn. I'm not saying you keep him forever just because of that, but when people it's like, oh my gosh, John Harbaugh and Sean McDermott and whoever else are available, and we're keeping Aaron Glenn. Okay, first of all, let's be honest here. Do you think Woody Johnson has done no back channeling at all to see who would bite? You're a fool if you believe that. If Sean McDermott through back channels hit up Woody Johnson and said, "It has been my lifelong dream to coach the New York Jets," Aaron Glenn will be fired. After the press conference, after all that, he would make a move at the 11th hour. If he can get Harbaugh, if he can get Tomlin, if he can get McDermott. He can't. He can't. So next year, if Glenn is fired, the Jets are going to they're going to be able to do one of two things: hire whatever Matt Nagy or Robert Saleh variants are out there, or pick a guy like Udinski, pick some 32-year-old who once shook hands with Sean McVay and has an offensive background. Probably isn't even like an offensive coordinator candidate like Ben Johnson. You'd have to go lower than that, like a Udinski, who's basically an offensive assistant, and just roll the dice with him, or Saleh Nagy. Those are going to be their choices. Now, again, there's a world in which at the end of the year, we'd rather go down that path than have Glenn. Honestly, if your opinion is you'd rather do that now than have Glenn, I don't think you're crazy. But let's at least put into perspective the reality of the options, because Harbaugh is not an option. Tomlin's not an option. McDermott's not an option, right? We got to at least be realistic. Like, you want to fire Glenn and hire Grant Udinski, I will hold your hand and walk into the unknown with you. But you miss me with, oh my gosh, other teams are getting Harbaugh and we have Charles London. Like, come on. Come on now. Doom responsibly, people. What's your Super Bowl pick? If it's Darnold versus Pats, who do you root for? Come on, Darnold all day. My number one rooting interest the rest of the way is that the Patriots lose. That is it. So if the Patriots lose, I don't care who else wins. Past that, I'd want Darnold to win. And even if it wasn't Darnold, I probably would root for the Seahawks over the Rams and the Broncos anyway. But yeah, I mean, the Seahawks at home, that defense, and Stafford has quietly had an underwhelming playoffs. It's kind of been the playoffs of the defenses. Even Drake May has not been good, but his defense has been awesome. So I don't think Darnold is going to have to do much to beat the Rams, to be honest. Seattle special teams is great, and the Rams have a terrible special teams. That could be a swing. So Seattle at home is an absolute buzzsaw. I'll take them. And if I was a betting man, Mile High is weird. Mile High is weird, but I don't think I can bet on Jarrett Stidham to win that game. So unfortunately, probably Seahawks Patriots rematch from the Marshawn Lynch should have gotten the carry, right? I'm at the Shambler's Truther part of my crash out. Well, it's part of it. We all get there at different stages. I wish he was 6'1.5". He's probably going to measure at 5'11.5". Bill's job is high pressure, win now, and new stadium. Yeah, it's an attractive job because you have, very rarely does a job opening come with a future Hall of Fame quarterback who's under 30, who never misses games. That's pretty rare. So yeah, that's awesome. I think you have good ownership in Buffalo. Yeah, so that's obviously, those are two huge things. Maybe you like chicken wings. I don't think where you live matters as much. Like maybe when guys get older and they have a ton of options or whatever, but who cares? Would you rather live in Arizona and pay no state income tax and see the sun than Buffalo in a vacuum? Maybe. But if it's Josh Allen or whoever or Kyler Murray, then yeah, you're going to take Josh Allen. I think that's overrated. We had a whole stream about it last year when maybe he was trolling. I took the bait. There was somebody commenting that no one would want to work for Jacksonville because it's Jacksonville, and they'd want to work in the New York City area. So the Jets were a more attractive destination. I'm like, bro, they have Trevor Lawrence. We have Jordan Travis. What are you talking about? Who cares? Nobody cares. You're rich. You're rich. You could be rich in Jacksonville, it'll be fine. You're not gonna live in the crappy part of Jacksonville. You're gonna live in a nice suburb of Jacksonville. Who cares? And you're gonna have a second property wherever you want that you spend the 4 months of your off season away at. It doesn't matter. And you have no state income tax. You know who wants to live in Jacksonville rather than New Jersey? People who live in New Jersey, because then when they retire or when they go on vacation, they go to Florida. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, man. Yeah, you live in Arizona and you're probably done. It's really, wherever you're at. Because we actually have our neighbors who they moved now, but we had neighbors for like 3 years. They were really cool. They moved here from Arizona. Well, they're originally from here, lived in Arizona, then they came back. I don't know where they live now, but whatever. They lived in Arizona, then lived here, and they were like, "Oh my god, it was horrible. Like the heat is like our winter when you can't go outside because today it's like negative 14 wind chill in Buffalo. Um, but it would for them it would be like it's 116 degrees, so it's the same thing. You can't go outside. So you know the grass ain't always greener. Arizona's weird though. Arizona's a weird state. It feels like it shouldn't when you're there, it feels like it shouldn't really exist. Like not the people. Like I'm not saying they should, I'm not wishing harm on them. They should relocate, but it feels like when you're in Arizona, you're in a place that shouldn't really be happening. Um, I don't know what it is about that state because other states near like Colorado should exist, for sure. You know, New Mexico is cool. Arizona feels like it probably really shouldn't be um, happening. I don't know how else to explain it. If you've been to Arizona, you'll understand what I mean. It's like this probably we should probably shouldn't be doing this. Um, that's Arizona. NFL is a copycat league. Bills fired McDermott because Pittsburgh and Baltimore did. Maybe, yeah, maybe that. Maybe Harbaugh was the first one, right? The first domino. I think there might be something to that. Yeah, I like the seasons too. That's why I spent a decent amount of time in the Carolinas, and the Carolinas were awesome because you'd get 4 seasons. I think it'd be weird to live in a place where it's just the same. I mean, maybe if it's like San Diego and you're just into surfing and you're just like whatever, you just like it's surfing weather every day, that's cool. But because Buffalo doesn't get a spring. So Buffalo, you get like 5 months frozen tundra, horrific, fall, beautiful. Yeah, so from like early August when it gets like crisp at night in the air, all the way through Halloween, all the way through like Thanksgiving, probably like Veterans Day, the first snowfall. Beautiful fall in Buffalo. Lots of stuff to do. Then it's tundra, horrendous, frozen, horrific, awfulness, dark at 4 p.m. It hurts to go outside. And then you get like 1 month of rain in April. And then once the rain stops, it'll be like 87 degrees and humid, and you have like back sweat. So there's no spring. It just rains for 3 weeks and then it's hot. Um, but and then the summer is cool. But I remember growing up on Long Island, there was a little bit of a spring. Like it gave you a moment. You had a moment where you're like, oh, like there's flowers, like stuff is changing. Buffalo, it rains for like 18 days straight. And then on the 19th day, it's like 90 degrees. And then it's like, oh, it's summer now, I guess. Yeah, DT knows the Carolina. Like, what is it right now in South Carolina, Dylan? What is it, like 40 degrees, 45 degrees? That sounds amazing. But I'll leave it there. If you guys want to hit the thumbs up on your way out, that'd be cool. Go Jets.